Hello and welcome everyone to the next Foreman community demo. Your host as always, Github here, and I'm happy to welcome you to the last community demo of 2016. It's been a fun year. We're going to be talking about all sorts of fun things. It's going to be quite a short demo this time. We've got not a lot of people wanting to come and show us actual new functionality. I guess Christmas is coming, and also we've got some release stuff coming up, so there's a lot of bug fixing going on as well, so it's a little bit quiet. But we're going to replace that extra content with a bit of a panel discussion. So we're going to have a bit of a chat about 2016 in general, what we thought of that, and if you've got any questions or comments you'd like to throw in about the past year of Foreman, please do so. You can get us in the usual places, Foreman IRC on #theforeman on Freenode. You can ping us on Twitter. I'll try and keep an eye on that. And there is, of course, the YouTube live chat as well. Feel free to ask questions there, and I will try and pick them up. So with that, I'm going to kick off with the usual content. So what are we going to talk about today? As you may have heard, 1.14 release candidate 1 went up yesterday. So it's fresh off the presses and ready for people to test. I believe there's already been one thing spotted with some of the package signatures. I'm sure that'll get sorted very soon. Then we're going to talk a little bit about fact imports. We're going to talk a bit about some Ansible stuff. And as I say, we're going to have a bit of a panel chat as well. So 1.14, what's new? Lots of new things. You can go and check on the release notes. This is literally just the sort of highlight that was from Dominic's email. There's about 2 pages worth of changes, so go and have a look through that. All sorts of new things. We have got new place to configure the email configuration that's slightly more intuitive, better support for IPv6, better support for LDAP. Session support for the API is huge, very, very useful if you're doing paging, and a lot of updates to the smart proxy as well. So go and check those out. If you rely on any particular functionality, we obviously would love for you to test it and to give us your feedback. It's so important to how we do things. So please, please, please do that. We love it. Quick note on upcoming events, as I usually do. So we have DevConf at the end of January, FOSDEM, and Config Management Camp in February. The Config Management Camp so FOSDEM, there's going to be at least one Foreman talk, because mine has been accepted, I think. And we're still waiting on a couple of others as well. So there's definitely going to be some Foreman content at FOSDEM. I've also had confirmation that we will have a stand at FOSDEM. So come and find us. I'm guessing it will probably be in K Building again. So come and find us, come chat with us. We want to talk to you, tell us about Foreman as you see it. We want to hear it. We will, of course, be at Config Management Camp Ghent. We're just doing the talk selection for our Foreman track at the moment. It's looking pretty exciting. There's a lot of good content. I believe the tickets are currently sold out. I believe also there might be some more going up in a little while. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep a very close eye on the website, on the Twitter feed for when those next round of tickets go up if you haven't got one already. And if you get one, or even if you don't, and you'd like to come and do some Foreman stuff, we will be having a Foreman Hackday again. So that will be on Wednesday, the 8th of February, immediately after Config Management Camp in the same venue. I'm going to be putting up an Eventbrite page for that tomorrow. So if you are interested in coming and hacking on Foreman or learning about how to hack on Foreman, how to contribute in any way, that's not just code, but things like translations, documentation. If you want to participate in the community, this is going to be a fabulous resource. We are planning a slightly different format to last year. We're thinking we'll do some presentations, some deep dives. So things like UI, things like orchestration. Maybe I'll run a getting started session. I think Tom is interested in that as well. So a few sort of how to get started or how to work on particular areas of Foreman, and then we'll break into groups and do some hacking and get some work done. Should be a lot of fun. So look out for details on that tomorrow on the mailing lists and on Twitter, and snag yourself a ticket. So as usual, I'll kick off with the metrics. Not a lot to say this time around. Same number of downloads as last 2 demos. It's pretty static at the moment. We've got a big number of people using 1.13.2, which wasn't out last time. So it's really great to see so many people moving up to the latest version very, very quickly. And obviously a drastic decrease in the number of people using 1.12, which is also very good to see people keeping up to date. Plugins. I think the plugins are slightly more interesting this time. Salt has had a huge surge. It's something like 50% more downloads than last demo. It was gone from like 2,500, or well, it's not half, is it? But it's like the third more. It's huge anyway. I don't know where this has come from. Sudden interest in Salt. But it's great to see. It's great to see different configuration management options getting good representation within Foreman. So I'm very happy to see that. And obviously that causes a bit of a reordering in the rest of the queue. Also interesting to see Ansible coming up as well. So again, lots of good configuration management stuff happening in that space. Zen down a little bit, Hooks down a little bit. I think that's just a constant around. Redmine is pretty static, to be honest with you. You would expect coming up to a release that people have been merging features. That's what we see. We've got more features closed and less features opened than last time, and we have less overall bugs fixed because features take time. So I'm not surprised. It's not particularly exciting. Slightly disappointed about the drop in issues open from the community side. That's down nearly 5%. It might just be a blip. We've had Thanksgiving. We're coming up to Christmas. It's a bit of a quiet time of year. So we'll see if that continues. I'll start to worry about it if it does. But for now, 27%, it's not unhealthy. I'm pretty okay with that. It's just that seeing it come down from the sort of 32, 33% that we had in the last couple of demos, it might just be a blip. I'm not going to get worried about it, but we'll see. And GitHub is much the same story as with Redmine. It's overall numbers are down, but you would expect that coming up to a release, so that's fine. And I'm sure as the release candidate goes forward, those numbers will pick back up again. Although, with Christmas, who knows? And as ever, the latest metrics that I'm working on can be found on our metrics dashboard. There is one new graph on there at the moment, so you can now track the downloads of the core package, Foreman itself, over time. So that's a graph by a sum of the downloads in the last month for the last 6 months. So it's kind of spiky, but it's what you would get if it's the data source that I'm using to give you this table, right? So you can check it for yourself and see how the total number of downloads is changing over time. That's enough wittering on from me. You don't need to hear me for a whole hour, right? Let's have some other speakers. So we're going to start with Daniel, who's going to give us something on behalf of a community member who sadly couldn't be here today. So Daniel, I'm going to hand over to you and tell us all about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Can you see now? Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Okay. Can someone go next? For some reason, I don't see Google Chrome in the list of screens here. Only the terminal and another one. Yeah. I'll be back after. Sorry.
You have a play with that, and we'll go to Toma. So let's switch back to the slide for a sec. So Toma, you wanted to talk about Ansible, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
I see a cursor and a black screen.
Now?
I do see your mouse cursor, but not much else. Try just unshare and
try
reshare.
again.
Yeah. Technology always breaks when you need it most, right? Oh.
Yeah. I see.
Saw a very brief flash there.
Now?
And that's it. I'll wait for it to kick in. I'm still seeing your profile picture at the moment. No, it's not happy. Something's not right today. Oh. No, you see again, we just have your mouse cursor on a black screen.
Yeah.
Very odd. This is not good. Maybe we're going to have to try a third person.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to go to the next one.
Fair enough. This is fun. I love it when things break. So I see Marek's joined. Marek, you want? I don't have a slide for you because I know you were unsure if you were going to make it. But what do you want to talk about?
So I'll take it from here.
Okay,
just
ahead.
Omar, if you can mute yourself. Thank you. All right, so Marek actually worked on some really nice stuff that he was unable to show, and I'll take the opportunity to share. Hopefully it works. So let's see, first of all, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Amazing.
All
it's
right.
not my end. Fantastic.
All right. It's been a long time since I demoed features. I'm really happy.
Bigger. Make it bigger.
Yes, of course. Okay. Is it good enough?
That's fine.
Okay. So maybe a little bit of background. You're not going to see a lot of new feature per se, but something that enables us to do a lot of interesting things in the future. Some of you probably heard or had the scenario in the past that you want to import your Puppet environments and classes, and that will take a long time. And the process in the UI, will basically, whether it's UI or if you did it for the CLI or API, will just take a while. And if you have a very large environment, that could be very annoying. So we've added the ability, or Marek added the ability to basically run it in the background. The demo itself probably is not that exciting. I'll just create an example environment called demo. I'll import from my Puppet master. If I click on it. And we now have a new button here, which is update on the background. What it does effectively is, besides the fact that it works, we see now with the new environment, if I'll refresh, it will show that it's gone. But what it does behind the scene, it actually create a task. So if it's something which takes a long time, we would see here, it actually it was very quick. In this case, it just showed that it removed the environment. But if you have a large environment, you can now basically run it in the background and come back later and get the feedback of if there was any failures. Now, using the same mechanism, we also now, you can see probably in the list of tasks that I have here, we now have the ability to import the Puppet or configuration report, but specifically mostly used by Puppet. We will now see that reports are also done asynchronously, meaning that they're no longer blocking the Puppet client. So Puppet client will exit faster when it's running. You won't see any noticeable change in the host list or their reports. There's no real change, but it still allows us to queue it in the background and effectively just import it without blocking. I think these are the two features. Basically, we've been avoiding background task processing in the past, and I think it's a big improvement. Will allow us to do task tracking a little bit more as a more common thing going forward, that a lot of things can actually happen in the background. So during the panel, I'll be happy to share a little bit, a few ideas what we want to do next when it comes to how we want to leverage that capabilities in other areas. So, but that's it for this part.
Superb. Thanks, Ohad. Good to have you back, by the way. Yeah, I really like that feature, actually. There's a lot we can do with it. I say we'll talk about it a bit more, but that import for large environment, I mean, I feel it. I don't have a particularly large estate, right? I'm just running Foreman at home for my hosts, and I feel it when I'm doing Puppet class import. So for some people, I know that takes, tens of minutes, and being able to background it is just really, really nice. So really happy to see that coming in. Obviously, we can extend it. Let me just check to see if we've got any questions regarding that. I don't see any just now, but I know you're hanging around anyway. But I can see some screen sharing going on from my colleagues. So let's go to Daniel next, shall we? And we'll go back to the order we thought we had. So Daniel, I can see a screen share. Do you want to go for it?
I hope it works out. All right. So first, thanks to Trey Dockenhorf for getting this feature posted to us as a pull request. Basically, it's a small thing, and it's kind of a twist on a known feature that we've had for a long time, the ignore facts for provisioning. If you're not familiar with what this does, it's very simple. When you submit facts, either through Puppet or Ansible or Salt, or whatever. If this setting is set to true, this will mean that sorry, that your host interfaces will not be updated from the IP and MAC addresses that are in the facts. It will keep whatever is in Foreman. So the feature that Tree added is that now we can do basically the same for domains. So here it is, ignore facts for domain and ignore facts for operating system. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. If I said ignore facts for domain is yes, and I submit some facts that do not have the same domain as the host in Foreman, it will not be updated. Same for operating system. I can do a quick demo for operating system, for instance. I set it to yes. Then I go to here and this host, and I'll run on another screen. Are you guys seeing my both screens, both of my screens, or just the browser?
No, we're only seeing the browser.
All right. Well, anyway, I'll run Ansible setup. So just send in the facts to Foreman to update the operating system. All right. I think it just finished. I reload, and it shouldn't have. All right. If I turn it back off, and I run same command again, I send facts, refresh, and it should have, all right. Yes. All right. So that is basically the feature. Same thing goes for domains, but yeah, it's useful mostly for the domainless provisioning that we could possibly have in the future. So if you're using hosts in Foreman without domains, or in that case, it would allow you to get facts from Puppet without having the domains written in Foreman. All right, that's it for me. Thank you.
Superb. Thanks, Daniel, and thanks to Trey as well. That's a really great feature. I can't speak about the domain stuff, but I know as a fairly heavy Debian user, you get a lot of Debian OSs because every time the point version changes, Foreman picks that up. So I've got like all of my templates are associated with something like Debian 8.3, and now all my hosts are on Debian 8. Where are we up to? 6, 7? So I've got Debian 8.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, all the separate OSs in Foreman, and it's not a big deal, but it'd be nice not to have to worry about it, right? So that's quite handy, actually. Cool. Okay, I also see Thomas' screen sharing appears to be working, so let's go and hear what he's got to say about Ansible.
Yeah, so first off, thanks to Sean for pointing out it was Wayland causing the trouble. So there's a few new options for Ansible that allow you to configure exactly how you want Ansible runs to be executed when you run certain playbooks against hosts. Previously, they all ran as the Foreman user, which obviously doesn't work if you need to use a different user to log in into your hosts. So under the settings page, which is accessible from administrator settings, now a new tab for Ansible that allows you to set default port, default password, and default user. For example, if you use a different port for SSH than 22, you can change that. Or if you want to always log in as root, you can also change the default user, etc. And these are what the default will be. And if you need to override them, for example, for this host, you need to set a different user, for example. All you need to do is go to host parameters, and add Ansible user, and for example, this one will be my user, and the same goes for Ansible port and Ansible password, obviously. This is the first step. In the future, possibly this will be moved out from host parameters and into an Ansible tab. That's the first step in getting it working and allowing you to set different settings for different hosts. The same settings, by the way, can be also set on the host group. So if you have a group that has a certain root password, for example, or whatever, you can now set that. And that's it from my side.
All right, thanks, Tomer. I'll just have a quick look for questions. I don't see any at the moment, but obviously, I was about to say stick around, but we're kind of done with the demo content anyway. So yeah, I don't see any right now. So cool. Thanks guys for those presentations. That's great as always. What I want to do now, as I said at the start, is I'm gonna move this around a little bit. I'm guessing Ohad and Thomas is in the same room. You probably want to like share a mic or something for this one, because it's kind of an open all mics session. What I'd like to do is do a little bit of a panel. Sorry, Marek, I didn't put you on the panel list, and but basically, let's turn that off and let me kill my screen sharing as well. I don't need that. We can just have the nice Foreman hat. So the idea here is we're just going to have a little bit of chat about what have we done that we're proud of, or what's cool, what's new. And I've got feedback from Tomer because I guess you're just taking your headphones off, right? So yeah, let's just have a chat, right? It's been an interesting year. It's certainly been an interesting year for me, so I'll kick things off. This is very much open to the community as well. So for everyone watching, and we do have pretty good viewing numbers just now, let us know your thoughts. Come and tell me on IRC, or hop into the YouTube chat and tell me how Foreman's been for you this year, and what you'd like to talk about maybe. And we can maybe just kill sort of 10, 20 minutes just chatting. For me, it's been a very interesting year. It's obviously, this is the first full year that I have been doing the community stuff, and that has been really fun, really interesting. I've learned a lot of new skills. I've made some mistakes for sure, but I've got some things I'm proud of. We've got, we had the birthday events, I think is top of my list, which was just really great fun to organize. We had our first ever Foreman Hackday after Config Management Camp in February, which was really well received. I think everybody pretty much said they'd love to do it again. So I'll be very interested to see what numbers we get this time. There was some notable contributions. So we had the Puppet 4 support, which was a huge amount of effort from a lot of people, but also involved some good sort of cooperation with the Puppet community, going back and forth on things like Puppet strings. It was great to be involved in that, however lightly. Everybody else did the work. That wasn't me, but it was still great to see that happen. And I think also the Smart Proxy as well has done very well in terms of, we've had plugins coming out. When Dimitri's doing fantastic work on improving the sort of infrastructure of the proxy, and that's led to a lot more Smart Proxy plugins coming forward, things like the Infoblox stuff, I'm thinking, which was great to that just completely caught me by surprise, right? Normally I've got some idea of what people are working on, sitting where I do within the community, and that one just came out of nowhere. It's like, apparently our documentation was fine, the code was fine, the extension points were fine, and just suddenly out of nowhere, it's like, hey, I've just written these 2 plugins, go play with it. That was absolutely fantastic, right? So that, I've just really been really surprised by how much fun I've had doing community stuff this year. It's been really awesome. Oh, we're doing video. Okay, I'll turn my video on as well. There we go. So for those of you who don't know, I have dinosaurs in my bedroom, right? So yeah, let me open up the mics. What do you guys want to say? Go on, someone else talk for a bit. Really? Don't make me pick on someone.
It took a second to unmute, so yeah, I had to unmute Tom's computer. So, first of all, I'm happy that we have this forum. It's kind of nice. It's a good opportunity to be able to chat in the public and share. So, thank you, Greg, for having us. I think we've been steadily improving, small part by part. The Foreman community has been growing. We know we have a lot of users that keep on using the product, and we have a good balance of new and existing users. We did try over the last year to learn more about why people like or don't like, what are the functionalities that people really like and where are the pain points. I think we've identified a few areas that we're lacking. So my hope for next year is really that we'll improve a lot of the usability of the product. We've been doing a lot of preparations towards that moment where we can actually simplify, whether it's the UI responsiveness or just how the UI operates, and allow us to do more things or simpler things, especially in places where it's just challenging to get things done, or just commonly requested features, whether it's having more sortable tables or things that are just useful on the day-to-day. They are not the functionality per se of Foreman, but they do provide a lot of value. Or let's say the other way around, if you don't have that kind of functionality, it's kind of a pain. So my hope for the upcoming year would be to fix a lot of these usability challenges, because one theme that is repeating whenever I talk to people who stopped using Foreman would be really that at some point in time it got complicated or just hard to keep up with new features, and it's full with functionality, but sometimes it's just too complicated. So my hope is to improve on that we'll do a better job there. And I take this opportunity to ask everyone, and I know there was a thread recently on the mailing list, so which points would you like to see improve? So if anything that I said now jives with anything you know about or feel about Foreman, I'll be very happy if you join on that thread and add some more comments. So we want to make sure we're building the right thing and what's useful for you guys, and this is your opportunity to help us.
Cool. Well, if you sorted your audio out, cool. So I don't have to worry about feedback. Well, in that case, we can just open all our mics right in chat. I was staying quiet because I didn't want to cause feedback again, but looks like you've got that sorted. Yeah, I echo all of that. It was Shlomi who started that thread, but yeah, I totally want to hear it as well. And I want to go further from my perspective. I want to see better data as well, like what people are using. I don't know the best way to do that. I've been doing some research recently, talking about how to collect sort of like what, I put up these metrics about what plugins people are using, for example, and it's really not the best data, right? Because it's coming from our download metrics rather than what people are actually installed and using. What features have they got enabled on their proxy and stuff like that. So, and again, if we know what people are using, we can maybe focus on those use cases as well, which would help. So.
Right. So one thing we're trying not to abuse. I mean, we talked a lot about whether to enable or not what we call a call home function. Basically a way to get anonymous reporting, how you use your infrastructure, and for us to learn where we need to improve, whether it's just collecting a little bit of behavior and insight into how you use the tool, which page are often. For example, sometimes we don't know. Our primary way to learn things is by having surveys, and surveys are not always the best means of getting accurate data. So we were looking for ways, simple question like how much do you use, how are you using Foreman in a multi-user environment? Is that a common use case? If you're not, then maybe we shouldn't invest so much into permissions, for example. But if you are, then we should make sure that organization locations and permissions work much better. So sometimes it just helps us to where to focus, where to prioritize. And it's very hard to figure out from a random bug report. And for that, Greg, I think you did great with case studies. That was really useful. Because every time I listen to a case study, I think it's really helping to learn a bit more about how people are using the tool. And I hope you keep on doing that going forward. And I hope people listen in, and even if they think they don't have a lot to share, actually by explaining how you use the tool helps us a lot. So.
I'm trying. It's really hard. You make a really good point, actually, because it's that feeling that they have nothing to contribute, which is the hardest thing to battle. Like, I know there's value there, right? And I want to talk to these people, but they're like, oh, I'm just a user. I don't have anything to say. I'm like, yes, you do. You don't even realize it, but you absolutely do. So all those people out there watching right now, I want these more case studies. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you about your use cases. I really like doing the case studies, and my sources have dried up. So come and talk to me, and let's do a case study. I have got, I think, 2 in the pipeline, and then that really is me out of leads at that point. So let's do some more case studies. I totally want to do that. The other interesting point, and guys, Daniel, Marek, feel free to jump in if you want. But the other thing I want to point is actually the hardest demographic is the people who've left, right? Even the download metrics are not great. Phone home would be better if we can find a nice way to do it that doesn't irritate everybody. But even then, that's still active users. Like, this is a classic problem if you organize any kind of meetup or event. It's like the biggest problem is the people who come once and then leave, because you can't ask them questions. Why did they leave? Why did they not come back, right? So it's not easy to figure out exactly why people left after they've gone. You've got to get to those problems quickly, right? And this is why I'm really interested in what you're talking about with Shlomi's thread, and what's eating at people, what's bugging them, because if we don't find out quickly, we will never find out, right? Once they're gone, they're gone. So it's a difficult problem to solve, but we could definitely do a better job of it. Oh, Daniel's vanished. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. Tomer, I know you wanted to talk about UI stuff while we're on the subject of improving things. I think that's been a fairly big part of the year, right?
Yeah, I guess I'll ties into what Ohad said about laying the groundworks for improvements. So a large portion of the year for me and for several other people was working on exactly those foundations. It started with deciding on which technology we want to actually use, because the UI world is huge, and every week there's a new framework, package manager, something or other that comes out. And once we've decided on the direction we went with Webpack, which, by the way, it turns out we beat Rails to it, because Rails 5.1 will be including Webpack and Yarn by default. So
is that going to cause us a problem?
Yeah, so we actually beat the HH to something.
I mean, that's an achievement unlocked, right? But equally, I hope it doesn't cause us too much pain when we have to upgrade to Rails 5.
Yeah. But getting that in took quite a long time. First figuring it all out, and then getting it all packaged and everything. And then once we had that, we could start working on some other new cool stuff that we wanted for a long time, like unit tests for JavaScript code, because I don't know how many of our listeners know or had a chance to try and write integration tests for Foreman, but it's not very fun, and they're very slow to execute. And we were really missing unit testing. And we now have a framework called Jest that allows us to write unit tests very quickly and easily. Mark, you still owe me some tests.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'll try. Well, it's too early to actually do the New Year's promises, so I won't do one here. I'll try.
Be careful what you say on a public broadcast, right? We'll hold you to it.
Yeah. And that was one step. Another was getting ESLint into it, so we can have a standard JS code, which doesn't really matter right now if you're for tabs or spaces, but at least there's one standard in the code base that a machine enforces, and you don't have to bug people, oh, your indentation is off, or you need to add a space there. So that's nice, because we didn't have that for JS before. We have Robocop, which does the same for Ruby, but we needed that for JavaScript desperately. All of the legacy code is, you can count about 10 or 12 different coding styles, which is about the number of people that wrote the code.
Yes, the JS framework thing is just ridiculous, right? I think we came to a conclusion, some friends of mine, that you could pretty much pick any word in the dictionary, and at this point in time, there's probably a JavaScript framework that uses that name.
Yeah.
It's just insane. But I mean, I know you did a huge, you and others did a huge amount of work on the changes to Webpack. It was just, yeah, monumental. So huge congratulations for getting all that sorted out. Oh, Daniel's back. So Daniel, Marek, one of you guys, come on, you talk. What are your high points? What have you enjoyed doing this year?
Just one.
Oh, go on.
One more thing. I guess the cherry on top of the cake is we now have React support in Foreman Core. So we can start creating nice, fun React components, throw around buzzwords and stuff. We have,
definitely going to be using some of that.
Stores,
one of my new plugins. So.
Yeah. So basically, the groundwork is mostly done. Hopefully, this will lead to much bigger developer happiness when writing UI code.
I'll let you know. Like I don't write code anymore, right? Yeah, but yeah, I've got a plan.
Yeah, and I hope that. Yeah, sorry.
No.
I hope that next year will be the year where we take advantage of all the work that's been done this year to really take that a step forward and start implementing new stuff and cleaning up the old spaghetti mess that we have right now.
Yeah, indeed, that'd be good. So, go on, guys. Marek, Daniel, you've both been very quiet. What are your high points for the year?
So I would say that for me, this year wasn't that much of big features added to Foreman, at least from my side. It was a lot about stabilization of the things we have there already. So when I checked my pull requests from this year, actually, to find out what can I talk about on config management camp, I realized most of my pull requests were just bug fixes. On the other hand, that's also really huge because now I would say Foreman is much more mature than it used to be, in terms of you can really use it and it's stable. It can. So that's I would say my biggest win for this year. But if I would have to find some good stuff that I worked on during this year, long-term issue that I fixed was adding taxonomies to roles, which makes taxonomies and roles actually usable right now together. And also, obviously, the background processing finally added to the core. I think that's also pretty big. I would have to check what else would be worth mentioning.
I think the background processing is huge. Once we get that, it's a shame that it missed 114, right, because of packaging concerns. But once that finally gets into people's hands, I think that's going to make everyone's life a lot better. I think there's a lot of places where Ohad was talking about the kind of paper cut type thing, and I think just processing time has a large impact on that, right? So being able to get on with it, it's going to be great. And then there's things we can start thinking about that we've just never been able to do, like multi-host creation that we've talked about for years and never got around to. So it's going to be great. Yeah, I mean, would you still like to see? Oh, sorry, go on. You have a point.
Just two more things that actually popped up in my mind right now. One thing this year was actually lucky for all the OpenSCAP or Foreman OpenSCAP users, because we are about to finish the tailoring file support, something that users were asking for a long time as well. And the second thing, I forgot that one. Never mind. Something cool.
Oh, it's very, very cool. It's so cool. It's just blown your mind completely. I think, would you still like to see, I know, so when we did the last community survey, we devoted actually a fair bit of space to talking about what we should do with organizations and locations. Is that still something you'd like to revamp at some point?
Well, yes, I would.
Assuming we have infinite time, right? That's not a consideration here. Just
one thing is, I would still like to see the code inside to be improved, and also the overall usability. We still have some gaps there. On the other hand, during the year, we didn't get that much feedback from users regarding that area. So maybe users are not using that heavily. So maybe it's not such a hot topic that I thought before.
Maybe I need to put that onto the call home RFC and find out how many people are using that. That'd be interesting. It's quite extensible, so once I write it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Cool, thanks, Mark. What about you, Daniel? What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I was reading.
He's got a notepad and everything. Oh my goodness.
I have 2 notepads actually.
Oh no, we're gonna be here all day.
In which I like this one is from February until September or so, and the other one is September until now. And I was going through them, figuring out what exactly happened. And a lot of things happened. So namely, things that are interesting that that we definitely didn't have last year. Sorry, 2014, 2015. We got a lot of plugins. We got Cockpit. We got remote execution maturing. We got remote execution integrated in Catella, which I think was a good win. Ansible, which started to get a little bit of traction lately. I'm happy about that. And Azure and DigitalOcean also got, every now and then I get somebody asking about these too. So in terms of plugins, I really think that the Foreman community is well served and probably do not need much more, right? Like most of what they could could hope for is there. Now the challenge is to make that really stable and easy to work with, in my opinion. We went through things like npm and Rails 4, like Tomer said before. I think other 2 highlights from this year, Lazy Zinc and stabilization in LDAP was also good, because we were getting a lot of users angry about not being able to use LDAP properly with Foreman. So that was really good. And other thing that I'm happy about that we wouldn't see if we looked at features per se, but if we look at the list of people that committed things last year, we see a lot of new people. And we see Tomer, we see Ori, Timo Gobel, well, Ewood, and I mean, Ewood has been contributing in many other areas, sorry. But yeah, in general, I'm happy that I see a lot more people than before reviewing code and merging things, which is essential for Foreman to survive, basically. Yeah, that's what I basically got from a quick look at my notes for the year.
Let me see if I can just share this. I did this for a talk last week, and I haven't automated it yet, so it's not on the metrics panel. But I managed to use our data to come up with a graph of contributor age. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about biological age here, right? I'm talking about how long they've been active in the community. Did that work? Can you see that graph?
I can see it.
Yeah. So this is the how long. So basically, I define this as take everybody who's interacted with the community in the last 6 months. So that's opened a bug, opened a PR, or emailed one of the mailing lists. Right. Those 3 criteria, and then for those, take those IDs and find the first time they interacted with the community. And then you've got an age, right? So for the people currently active, how long have they been active? Now, that doesn't account for people who might go away and come back again after a couple of years, but what can you do? And I find this a really interesting graph, right? Because we've got this big gap in the middle. I expected it to either go one way or the other way. I either thought we'd be doing really well at getting new people in, but we were struggling to hold on to people, or that we're doing maybe not a great job of getting new users in, but we've got good people who've been around a long time. You know, if I think about who's been in the community a long time, I can obviously name a lot of names off the top of my head. But actually, we get this really interesting U-shaped graph. Now, I don't know what we did a year ago to make so many people annoyed, but apparently we did, because the whole ton of people. Now, obviously, this is contributors, not users, right? It's a different demographic, but still, it's an interesting graph, and this is really encouraging, and it represents what you were just saying. We've got so many new people contributing now, and contributing in a pretty big way. You know, you look at Timo as an obvious example, right? He's just so active. But you've also got the people in this category, like Michael, who've been there forever. Rock stars, all of you, fantastic. So yeah, fun little graph there that I thought might be.
Well, my explanation of the graph is that in the beginning you need some assistance, and then you interact with the community, and after a year you settle down, and afterwards you like the tool so much that you start helping others. So that's how I read it.
Could be, yeah. It's just an interesting graph, I think. It's quite fun. So. Yeah, I mean we've had a ton of good stuff, right? It's been a really fun year. It's been a really fun year for me. Just learning how to do this job has been a real eye opener. There's just so much to do, but it's been fun. Sorry. You
know, it's usually the biggest impact is if you go a year back in versions. You know, if you go back to, let's say 1.9 or 1.10, and you see the differences, the small nuances, but there's a continuous improvement. If you go even longer, you know, with the 1.7, or I think that was about 2 years ago, you see that how much was accomplished. Now, many times it's really hard to follow or hard to see on the day-to-day, especially for us who work on the project day-to-day. But there are significant changes, especially with plugins that I don't know how much the people who watch are on top of what's happening with plugins, because it's too often that we hear that, oh, I didn't know you can do that, or you can get that for free, or all kinds of stuff like that. But a lot of the work we've done in Foreman is preparation for plugins to get better, or the ability for plugins to exist well. And I think, I don't know what you're showing, Greg, but I think basically this kind of, just like Daniel said, if you look at this across, there's a lot of stuff that's happening, and sometimes it's overwhelming. We do try to keep the monthly newsletters and some other ways of interacting with people, but it is challenging. I mean, more than often when I talk with people about Foreman, they don't know, or not well, they just didn't exposed enough. So we have this, we have Twitter, we have other things, but still there's people know less than what I would hope they do. So I'm very happy to have whatever opportunity, whether it's here or Config Management Camp, which is coming up soon with an awesome Foreman track, and the ability to discuss and share information and share ideas with people. So I don't know.
The graph I was just showing you there was you were talking about the explosion in plugins, and I just wanted to show that. This is me. I scrape the wiki page, the list of plugins page, on a daily basis for everything that starts with HTTPS GitHub, basically, and I just make a note of it. And this line over here is 93 plugins currently on the list of plugins page. That's huge, right? That is absolutely huge. There's just so many ways in which you can extend Foreman, and it's just getting easier to do, so more people are doing it. So I just thought I'd quickly show that. There's a ton of interesting graphs on this page. This is the public page, so you can totally go and play with this. So there's a bunch of different graphs, and some of them need a little bit of interpretation. So if you're ever curious about what some of these graphs mean, just ping me. But yeah, the plugins one is quite good. And bugs opened, I guess, is quite nice, because it's like, yay, less bugs. Why we have less bugs? Who knows? Maybe we have less bugs, or maybe less people are reporting bugs. But no. And this was the graph I was talking about earlier. But anyway, so. Yes, I'll stop that now. But yeah, I agree with you. It's difficult to get the word out. That's something I would like to think of better ways to do. If anybody has suggestions on how to do that, I'm all ears, because I can't tell you the number of times where we've promoted an event, and then we've been pushing it for like 2 months, and then a week before the event, someone comes to you and says, "Oh, I didn't know that was happening. What do I do with this?" It's a hard problem to solve. It's a combination of, how do you go to where people are without fragmenting your communication channels? I don't want to have 20 places to update when we've got something happening, but equally I don't want people to miss out, right? So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. cool. Well, I guess
One of my last wishes, probably one of the most important wishes for next year, is to have Catella running just like any other plugin and usable by a lot of people. We've been doing a lot of work with the Catella folks. Been doing a lot of work to get that aligned. And kudos to those guys promoting and getting Catella stabler and stabler every release. And I hope that next year we're all in the same groups, sharing a lot of success use cases, and you have a lot of case studies about how people use Catella and with various combinations.
I would love to. And they're making moves in that direction, right? So we've had the websites merged now, which is great. I'd love to see the packages hosted, because I don't get any. All of those metrics that I do every month have no visibility of Catella at all. It's not hosted on yum.foreman.org. So I have no way of telling you where in that plugin graph Catella would sit if it was there. So it would be nice to fix that. I'm not deliberately leaving them out. I just have no way to see that data. I would love to see it break down into potentially into a number of plugins. I know, for example, speaking to Timo, he can't use Catella as it currently stands because they already use Pulp. And if they use Catella the way it's written right now, it breaks Pulp, right? So for their use case. So it would be nice to make things a little bit more flexible. And I know Eric and Justin and the rest of the team are interested in that. I know Ewood, Ewoud, I should not say that, he's going to kill me. Ewoud definitely wants to help with that on the community front as well. He's getting involved, which is really awesome. So yeah, and the biggest problem, as always, is that you can't enable it in a running instance, right? And that just catches people out all the time. So it would be nice to be able to deal with that. But I appreciate it's a really tough problem to solve. Right. Well, we're running out of time a little bit. This has been a really nice chat, actually. Does anybody want to say any last words or ping up, talk about what maybe they'd like to see happen? Or am I going to wrap it up there?
Well, I hope we see many of you next year in Ghent, in our FOSDEM track, or in any of the events around FOSDEM. You're welcome to come. It's an open event for those of you who don't know. Greg will share the URL somewhere. And yeah, hope to see you guys soon.
Indeed. It will be shared. It will go to the mailing list. It will go to Twitter. I will probably do a blog post on it, and I will try and maybe get it in the announce section of the front page of the website as well. So all the places that I'm fairly sure people are looking, you will hear about the Hack Day and Config Management Camp in the next few days. In the meantime, thank you everyone for being a part of this panel and for your presentations today. Thanks to you at home for watching. It's been great to have you. You can find us in all the usual places. You know the drill by now. Subscribe, etc. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and do take care.